I woke up to 147 trash cans covering my entire lawn. Not a prank. A calculated attack by the HOA president because I accidentally placed my garbage bin 6 inches over the property line. 6 inches. Margaret Thornhill stood at my property edge, arms crossed, smiling like she'd won. My teenage daughter was arriving in 3 hours to see our dream lakefront cabin for the first time since the divorce. Instead, she'd see a garbage dump. Code enforcement was pulling up my driveway. Neighbors were recording on their phones. Margaret whispered something to the officer that made his eyes widen with shock. That's when I realized this wasn't about trash cans. This was about destroying me completely. What I discovered in trash can number 83 exposed a criminal empire that would send her to prison for 15 years and return $340,000 to the families she'd victimized. Stay until the end to see the most satisfying HOA takedown you've ever witnessed. Comment below where you're watching from. Let's see how far this reaches across the country. I stepped onto my porch at 6:47 a.m., coffee mug warm in my hand, and froze. 147 trash cans, covering every inch of my front lawn like a plastic forest. Blue bins, black bins, green recycling containers, stretching from my driveway to the lake's edge, blocking the view I'd saved 15 years to own. The mountain mist was rolling off Crystal Lake, catching the first light. Pine trees swayed in the morning breeze. Everything should have been perfect. Instead, my property looked like a landfill. I set my coffee down. My hands were shaking. This wasn't random. This wasn't kids playing a prank. 3 days ago, I'd placed my trash can 6 inches over the property line. Maybe 8 inches. I was running late for work, dragged it to the curb fast, didn't measure. When I got home that evening, I noticed. Moved it back immediately. 6 inches. For maybe 9 hours. Now this. I walked down the porch steps, boots crunching on gravel. The closest trash can had a white sticker. Property of 2847 Lakeview Drive. The Hendersons, 3 houses down. The next one. Property of 1923 Mountain Ridge Road. That was half a mile away. Someone had collected every single trash can in Pine Ridge Valley and dumped them on my lawn. My phone buzzed. Text from Sarah, my 16-year-old daughter. Dad. So excited. Leaving early. Be there by 10 a.m. instead of 2. Can't wait to see the cabin. My stomach dropped. She was coming in 3 hours. 3 hours to see the home I'd been preparing for months. The fresh start after the divorce. Our chance to rebuild what her mother and I had destroyed. Instead, she'd arrived to see her dad living in a trash can graveyard. I heard an engine. Looked up. White Ford F-250. County Code Enforcement logo on the door. Pulling into my driveway slow and deliberate. My neighbor's curtains were moving. Mrs. Chun across the street had her phone out, recording. The Millers next door were standing on their porch, watching, but not coming over. Not helping. They looked afraid. The code enforcement truck stopped. Door opened. Then I saw her. Margaret Thornhill, HOA president, walking up from the property line like she owned the place. Designer blazer despite the early hour. Pearl necklace catching the light. Leather binder tucked under her arm, thick as a phone book. She was smiling. Not a friendly smile. A hunter's smile. She stopped at the edge of my property, arms crossed, watching the code enforcement officer approach me. Her SUV was parked down the street. Lexus GX, black and gleaming. Worth more than I made in a year working as an electrician. The officer walked toward me, clipboard in hand. Young guy, maybe 30. He looked uncomfortable. Mr. Morrison? Jack Morrison. That's me. We received a complaint about. He gestured at the trash cans, then at his clipboard. Multiple violations. Property maintenance. Unauthorized dumping. Visual blight. I didn't put these here. Sir, I understand, but... Margaret called out from the property line. Officer, I have documentation of Mr. Morrison's pattern of violations. It's all in my report. She walked closer. Not onto my property. Too smart for that. But close enough that I could smell her perfume. Expensive. Overpowering. She opened the binder. Showed the officer pages and pages of printed photos, highlighted text, official-looking forms. This resident has been problematic since he moved here 18 months ago. Trash violations. Noise complaints. Failure to maintain landscaping standards. This morning's incident is simply the culmination of. I moved one trash can 6 inches over the line for 9 hours. That's it. Margaret's smile widened. Officer, you'll find in section 7.3 of my report that Mr. Morrison has demonstrated unstable behavior. Concerning behavior, his ex-wife has expressed worries about. Leave my daughter out of this. The officer looked between us. Margaret handed him a document. She leaned closer, voice dropping to a whisper meant only for him. But I caught 4 words. Dangerous to the community. The officer's eyes widened. My phone buzzed again. Sarah, can't wait to see our lake, Dad. Mom said you've been working so hard on the house. Margaret was still smiling, and I realized this was just beginning. The code enforcement officer stepped away, talking into his radio. Low voice. Official codes I didn't understand. Margaret moved closer to me. Still not on my property. Always careful about that. Beautiful morning, isn't it? She gestured toward the lake. Such a shame about all this mess. You did this. I did my civic duty. You violated HOA Code 3.7.2, subsection B. Improper waste receptacle placement. That triggered our emergency beautification protocol. Emergency beautification protocol? That's not a real thing. She opened her binder, turned it toward me. Pages of bylaws, amendments, subsections. Text so dense I couldn't read it in the morning light. Adopted at the November 2019 emergency meeting. You would know that if you attended HOA functions. She smiled. Oh, that's right. You've missed the last 6 meetings. That's a violation too. The officer walked back over. Mr. Morrison, I need to inspect your property. We've received reports of additional code violations. What violations? Margaret answered before he could. Deck built without proper permits. Electrical work performed without county inspection. Landscaping encroachment onto common area. Shall I continue? Every word was a lie. My deck permits were current. I checked them last month. The electrical work was my profession. Everything was to code. The landscaping was 6 feet from the nearest common area. But she said it with such confidence. Such certainty. The officer looked at me. Sir, do you have your permits available? Inside. But there. I'll need to verify them. Margaret pulled out her phone. Showed the officer something. These photos were taken yesterday evening. You can see the violations clearly. I looked at her screen. My property. But the photos were wrong. Zoomed in weird. Angles that made everything look neglected, dangerous, shabby. She'd been planning this. How long have you been watching my house? I monitor the entire community, Mr. Morrison. It's my responsibility as HOA president. She touched her pearls. 12 years I've served this neighborhood. 12 years keeping property values high and standards higher. The officer was writing on his clipboard. I'm going to need to complete a full inspection. It'll take about 45 minutes. My phone. Sarah texting a photo of herself in the car, smiling, making a peace sign. 2 hours away. Margaret saw the text. Her smile changed. Became something sharper. Oh, that's right. Your daughter is visiting. First time at the new place. She tilted her head. I hope she isn't too disappointed. This neighborhood has standards. We can't have unstable environments affecting our children's well-being. My hands clenched. What did you just say? I said what I said. Your ex-wife reached out to me last month. Concerned about Sarah spending time here. Given your history. My history. The divorce. The reasons for it. A mother worries. She was lying. Had to be. But the way she said it. So casual, so certain. The officer interrupted. Ma'am, I need to focus on the code enforcement issues. Of course. Margaret handed him another document. This is the Community Beautification Emergency Invoice. Per HOA bylaws, Mr. Morrison is responsible for all remediation costs. The officer read it. His eyebrows went up. Ma'am, this says $14,700. $100 per trash receptacle. Standard removal and transportation fee. Plus administrative costs. I'm not paying that. Then the HOA will file a lien against your property. We have that authority under county code. Would you like to see the statute? She was already flipping to another section in her binder. The officer looked tired. Mr. Morrison, I need to see those permits. And I'll need to document the current state of your property. I led him toward the house. Behind me, I heard Margaret on her phone. Yes, I'd like to schedule an emergency HOA meeting. Tonight, 7 p.m. We have a situation that requires immediate board action. I stopped. Turned around. What situation? She smiled. Didn't answer. Just kept talking into her phone. Yes, all board members. This is urgent. We may need to implement our emergency property seizure protocols. You can't seize my property. She lowered her phone. Looked directly at me. Mr. Morrison, I've lived in Pine Ridge Valley for 23 years. My late husband built half these homes. I know every county official, every judge, every lawyer within 50 miles. You've been here 18 months. She paused. You have no idea what I can do. The code enforcement officer cleared his throat. Sir, the permits? Margaret's phone rang. She answered, walking away. But I heard her final words. Yes, regarding the Morrison custody situation. I have concerns. My daughter was 2 hours away, and this woman was just getting started. I grabbed the permits from my filing cabinet, hands shaking so bad I dropped them twice. The code enforcement officer was outside, photographing everything. My deck, my electrical panel, the property line. Sarah would be here in less than 2 hours. I called Danny. He answered on the first ring. Jack, it's 7:30 in the morning. I need you. Now. What happened? I told him. All of it. The trash cans, Margaret, the threats about Sarah. Silence on the other end. Then, I'm 15 minutes away. Don't talk to anyone else. Not the officer, not Margaret, nobody. I'm coming. Danny was my best friend since high school. Paralegal at a firm downtown. He'd helped me through the divorce, knew every dirty trick lawyers pulled. If anyone could help me now, it was him. I went back outside. The officer was measuring something near my deck. Margaret was gone. Her Lexus was still parked down the street, but she'd disappeared. That made me more nervous than seeing her. I started moving trash cans. Had to clear the lawn before Sarah arrived. Had to make this look normal, controlled, fine. The first can was heavy. The second heavier. By the 10th, my back was screaming. Neighbors watched from windows. Nobody helped. I recognized the fear in their faces. I'd seen it at HOA meetings. The way people went quiet when Margaret spoke. The way they voted with her, always with her, even when it made no sense. She'd trained them well. I grabbed trash can number 83. Blue recycling bin from somewhere on the far side of the neighborhood. It rattled. Something was inside besides trash. I opened the lid. Found a manila folder wedged between two garbage bags. Inside, documents. HOA financial statements. Invoices from Mountain Ridge Landscaping Services. Bids from Crystal Lake Property Management. Receipts for emergency tree removal, totaling $47,000. Every invoice was signed by Margaret Thornhill. Every vendor had the same address, 2891 Willow Creek Drive. I pulled out my phone, searched the address. It was her brother-in-law's house. I kept reading. More invoices. Parking lot resurfacing, $68,000. Community center roof repair, $93,000. I'd driven past the community center yesterday. The roof looked 30 years old. No repairs. The parking lot had potholes you could lose a tire in. Danny's truck pulled into my driveway. He jumped out, saw the trash cans, saw my face. What's wrong? I handed him the folder. He flipped through it fast. His paralegal brain processing, cataloging, understanding. Jack, this is embezzlement. This is fraud. This is, he looked up at me. How much trash is out here? 147 cans. She was disposing of evidence. These got mixed in by accident. She's been dumping old HOA records. Why now? Because you asked questions at last month's meeting. About the landscaping expenses. You questioned her in public. I had. The HOA had spent $80,000 on emergency landscaping, but nothing looked different. I'd asked for receipts. Margaret had dismissed it, moved to the next agenda item, but she'd looked at me differently after that. Like I'd become a problem. Danny pulled out his phone, started photographing every page. This is enough to open a criminal investigation. Maybe federal. If she's been using HOA funds for personal. A car pulled into my driveway. My ex-wife's Honda Civic. Sarah jumped out of the passenger seat, saw the trash cans, saw me covered in sweat and dirt. Dad? What happened? She was early. An hour early. My ex-wife, Jennifer, got out slower. Looked at the property, at the chaos, at me. Jack, Sarah called me worried. She said you sounded stressed on the phone yesterday. I didn't call yesterday. Someone called from your number. A woman. Said she was concerned about Sarah's visit. About the environment here being unstable. Margaret. Sarah walked up to me, looked at the trash cans, at my face. Dad, who did this to you? I looked at my daughter. 16 years old. Smart. Strong. Everything good that came from my failed marriage. The HOA president. She's trying to run me out of the neighborhood. Jennifer crossed her arms. Jack, if you can't maintain a stable. Mom, look at this. Sarah gestured at the property. Does this look like Dad's fault? Before Jennifer could answer, a sheriff's deputy pulled up. Young woman, professional, hand resting on her belt. I'm looking for Jack Morrison. That's me. We received a wellness check request. Anonymous caller expressed concerns about a minor child visiting a potentially unsafe residence. Sarah stepped between us. I'm the minor child. This is my dad. There's nothing unsafe here. The deputy looked at the trash cans. At me. At the code enforcement officer, still measuring my deck. Sir, what's going on here? Margaret's Lexus pulled back into view. She stayed in the car, watching. Phone to her ear. Danny stepped forward, business card in hand. Deputy, I'm Mr. Morrison's legal counsel. This is a targeted harassment campaign by the HOA president. We have documentation. The deputy took his card. Looked skeptical but professional. Sarah grabbed my hand. Squeezed hard. Dad, Mom was wrong about you. Let's fight this. Together. I looked at my daughter. At Danny. At the documents that could destroy Margaret. Then at Margaret, sitting in her Lexus, still smiling. The deputy's radio crackled. Unit 7, we have another call coming in. Same address. Possible domestic disturbance. Margaret had made another call. This wasn't stopping. This was just beginning. That evening, Pine Ridge Valley Community Center. 7 p.m. sharp. The building sat on a hill overlooking Crystal Lake. Floor-to-ceiling windows facing west, catching the sunset. Purple mountains silhouetted against orange sky. 70 residents packed into a room designed for 40. I sat in the back row with Danny and Sarah. Jennifer had left after the deputy cleared the wellness check, but she'd looked at me differently. Less judgment, more concern. Margaret stood at the front. Podium, microphone, PowerPoint clicker in hand. She'd changed clothes. Black pantsuit now. Professional. Authoritative. The 4 board members sat behind her like Supreme Court justices, all handpicked by Margaret over the years. She clicked to the first slide, a photo of my property, zoomed in to make the trash cans look worse than they were. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending on such short notice. Her voice was calm, measured. We're here to discuss a critical threat to our community's well-being and property values. Someone in the third row raised their hand. Margaret, what happened? I heard something about trash cans. I'll explain everything. But first, I want to remind everyone what we've built here. Pine Ridge Valley isn't just a neighborhood. It's a community of excellence. Property values have increased 340% since I became HOA president 12 years ago. Murmurs of agreement. People nodding. She clicked to the next slide. My house, photographed from an angle that made it look run down. This is 1847, Lakeview Drive. Jack Morrison's property. Mr. Morrison moved here 18 months ago. Since then, we've documented 14 separate HOA violations. Danny leaned forward. Whispered, she's lying. Don't react. Margaret continued. Improper trash placement. Noise complaints. Failure to maintain landscaping standards. Unauthorized construction. Parking violations. She clicked through slides. Each one a photograph, a highlighted bylaw, a form with official-looking stamps. It was masterful. Overwhelming. Even I almost believed it. This morning, we implemented emergency protocols after Mr. Morrison's latest violation. Unfortunately, he responded with hostility. He threatened code enforcement. He created a scene in front of neighbors. Most concerning, he did this while his minor daughter was present. Sarah grabbed my arm. Dad, not yet, Danny whispered. Let her finish. Let her commit. Margaret's voice softened, became almost sympathetic. I don't enjoy this. Jack Morrison seems like a troubled man. Divorce is difficult. Starting over is hard. But we cannot allow personal struggles to diminish our community standards. She clicked to a new slide. Emergency Measures Proposal. I'm recommending the board implement the following. First, immediate fines of $500 per day until Mr. Morrison brings his property into full compliance. Second, mandatory property inspection with HOA-approved contractors. Mr. Morrison will cover all costs. Third, 6-month probationary status. Any additional violations result in automatic lien placement. Fourth, required use of community-approved vendors for all future maintenance and repairs. Danny was writing notes furiously. An older woman in the front row raised her hand. Mrs. Patterson. She'd lived here 20 years. Margaret, $500 a day seems excessive. And requiring specific contractors. Doesn't that limit homeowner freedom? Margaret's smile tightened. Just for a second. Mrs. Patterson, I appreciate your concern, but we must protect property values. One deteriorating property affects everyone's investment. Would you want your home value to drop because we failed to enforce standards?" Mrs. Patterson looked down, didn't respond. Someone else asked, "What if he can't afford the fines?" "Then the HOA has the authority to place a lien and eventually force sale of the property. It's in our bylaws. County approved." I stood up. Every head turned. "I'd like to respond to these accusations." Margaret's face remained pleasant. "Mr. Morrison, this is a board meeting. Residents may speak during the public comment period, which is," she checked her watch, "in 45 minutes. Please sit down. I'm being accused of 14 violations I never committed. I have a right. You have the right to speak during public comment. Or leave." The board members nodded. One of them, Richard Stevens, spoke up. "Margaret is correct. Procedures must be followed." Danny stood. "I'm Mr. Morrison's legal counsel. Parliamentary procedure allows for." "This isn't a courtroom, sir. This is an HOA meeting governed by our bylaws." Margaret clicked to a new slide. Full text of HOA meeting rules. Section 12.4. Non-board members speak only during designated comment periods. She'd planned for everything. I sat down. Sarah's hand found mine again. Margaret continued her presentation. Slide after slide. My property. Alleged violations. Photos taken from angles that distorted reality. Quotes from concerned neighbors, who remained anonymous. By the time she finished, she'd painted me as a dangerous, unstable man whose presence threatened everyone's safety and property values. I now call for a vote on the emergency measures. The board members conferred, whispered among themselves. Richard Stevens spoke. "I move to approve all 4 emergency measures as presented." "Second," said another board member. "All in favor?" 4 hands went up. "Opposed?" 1 hand. Mrs. Thompson, the oldest board member. She looked terrified but held her hand up. Motion passes 4-1. Emergency measures begin immediately. Margaret smiled. "Look directly at me. Mr. Morrison, you have 72 hours to begin compliance. The $500 daily fine starts tomorrow morning." People started standing, gathering their things. Some looked uncomfortable. Most avoided eye contact with me. Danny's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen. His face went pale. He showed me the text. "Call me now. District Attorney's Office. It's about Margaret Thornhill." Sarah leaned close. "Dad, don't let her win." Margaret was packing up her laptop, still smiling. I looked at Danny, at the text message, at the evidence folder in his bag. This wasn't over. This was just getting started. 11:47 p.m. My cabin. Every light on. Danny had spread documents across my dining table. Financial statements, invoices, bank records from the folder I'd found. His laptop open, 3 legal pads covered in notes. Outside, the lake was black glass under moonlight. Mountains invisible in the darkness. Sarah was asleep on the couch, exhausted from the day's chaos. I'd covered her with a blanket an hour ago. Danny looked up from his laptop. "Jack, this is bigger than we thought." "How big?" $340,000. Minimum. That's what I can prove she's embezzled just from these documents. The real number is probably double. He turned his laptop toward me. Spreadsheet with highlighted cells, formulas, calculations. "Look, 2019, she approved $68,000 for parking lot resurfacing. Vendor, Mountain Ridge Landscaping. Owner, Thomas Thornhill, her brother-in-law. But I checked county permits. No work permit was ever filed. The parking lot was never resurfaced. So she just paid her brother-in-law $68,000 for nothing? And he probably kicked back half. Classic fraud scheme. Here, 2020, $93,000 for community center roof repair. Same vendor. No permit. The roof is original from 1987. Danny scrolled down. More entries. Tree removal that never happened. Fence repairs for fences that didn't exist. Emergency drainage work on property that had no drainage issues. She's been doing this for 6 years. Every invoice goes to companies owned by her relatives. The HOA pays. No work gets done. Money disappears. Why target me? Because you asked questions at the meeting last month. About landscaping expenses. You were the first person in years to question her spending. She saw you as a threat. I looked at the documents. At the evidence that could destroy her. What do? We need more. These documents prove fraud, but we need to show pattern, intent, conspiracy. We need witnesses. Other victims. The family she drove out. Exactly. And we need testimony from current residents who were too afraid to speak up. Danny's phone rang. He checked the caller ID, eyes widening. It's the district attorney's office. They actually called back. He answered. This is Danny Chun. Yes. Yes, I represent Mr. Morrison. Wait, you've been investigating. I watched his face change as he listened. Surprise. Then relief. Then something that looked like hope. He put the call on speaker. A woman's voice. Professional. Serious. Mr. Chun, this is Assistant DA Rebecca Walsh. We've had Margaret Thornhill on our radar for 8 months. Financial Crimes Division. Your call this evening provided additional evidence we needed. You've been investigating her? We're investigating HOA fraud across the county. Multiple neighborhoods. Millions in stolen funds. Margaret Thornhill is connected to at least 3 schemes. But she's smart. Careful. We need ironclad evidence before we move. Danny looked at me. We have documents. Financial records she accidentally disposed of. We'd like to see those. But more importantly, we need testimony. On record. With proof. Would Mr. Morrison be willing to wear a wire? The room went silent. Wire? Like record her confessing. The next time she contacts him about the violations, the fines, anything. We need her on tape discussing the embezzlement. Ideally, we need her to threaten him or offer him a deal. Something that proves consciousness of guilt. That's dangerous, I said. If she suspects, she'll destroy evidence and flee. We know. But Mr. Morrison, she's going to come at you hard in the next few days. She always does with targets. She'll escalate, threaten, try to force you into bankruptcy or surrender. That's her pattern. How do you know her pattern? Because you're the 4th person she's targeted this way in 3 years. The other 3 lost their homes. My stomach dropped. We're offering protection and legal support if you help us. We'll coordinate with code enforcement, county officials, everyone in her network. But we need her on record. I looked at Sarah sleeping on the couch. At my cabin. At everything I'd built. When there's an emergency HOA meeting she's scheduled for tomorrow night. Community asset sale. She's trying to sell common areas, the lake access, parks, to a shell company. For pennies on the dollar. It's her final cash grab before she knows we're closing in. Danny leaned forward. She knows you're investigating? She suspects. We've been too visible. This sale is her exit strategy. She makes one last score and disappears. What do you need from me? I asked. Attend the meeting. We're the wire. Confront her. Make her admit something, anything that proves fraud. We'll have agents positioned. If she confesses, we arrest her immediately. And if she doesn't, silence on the other end. Then she sells those assets tomorrow, takes the money, and we may never catch her. I looked at the lake outside. At Sarah. At the life I'd fought so hard to build. Danny put his hand on my shoulder. Your call, Jack. My phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. Mr. Morrison, this is Margaret Thornhill. We need to discuss your compliance timeline. Meet me tomorrow, for PM, Community Center. Come alone. This is your last chance to resolve this peacefully. I showed Danny the text. He showed it to the DA on speaker. Perfect, Rebecca Walsh said. That's our opportunity. Mr. Morrison, will you do this? I thought about the families she'd destroyed. The money she'd stolen. The way she'd smiled when she threatened my daughter. I'll do it. Good. We'll have the wire ready by noon tomorrow. One more thing, don't tell anyone. Not neighbors, not friends, nobody. If word gets back to her. I understand. She hung up. Danny and I sat in silence. Sarah stirred on the couch, mumbled something in her sleep. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Margaret. Bring your checkbook. $23,500 owed for violations and fees. Payment in full required tomorrow. Danny looked at the message. She's going to push you hard. Let her push. Outside, a car drove slowly past my cabin. Headlights off. I couldn't see the make or model in the darkness. But I'd seen that same car drive by 3 times in the past hour. Margaret was watching. And tomorrow, I'd give her exactly what she wanted. A confession. Morning hit like a hammer. 6 a.m., someone pounding on my door. I stumbled out of bed, still dressed from last night. Sarah was already awake, looking scared. Dad, someone's outside. I looked through the window. Sheriff's deputy. Different one from yesterday. Older. Holding papers. I opened the door. Jack Morrison? Yes. You've been served. He handed me a manila envelope. Have a good day, sir. He walked back to his cruiser. Drove away. I opened the envelope. Legal documents. Official seals. County letterhead. Temporary restraining order. Margaret Thornhill versus Jack Morrison. Petitioner claims respondent made verbal threats at HOA meeting. Exhibited aggressive behavior. Created hostile environment. Poses danger to community safety. Hearing scheduled for tomorrow. Judge, Honorable Robert Kensington. Emergency protective order in effect immediately. I had to stay 500 feet away from Margaret. Away from her property. Away from all HOA-designated areas, which meant most of the neighborhood. I couldn't attend today's meeting. The wire was useless. Danny arrived 20 minutes later, read the restraining order, and went pale. Judge Kensington is her golf partner. I've seen them at the country club. This is rigged. Can we fight it? At the hearing tomorrow. But for now, this order is legally binding. If you violate it, you go to jail. Sarah came into the kitchen, still in pajamas. What does this mean? I couldn't answer. My phone rang. Rebecca Walsh, the assistant DA. Mr. Morrison, we heard about the restraining order. Margaret moved faster than we anticipated. So what now? I can't get near her. We're working on alternatives. But right now, she paused. We need you to know something. Margaret has contacted your ex-wife. Filed a formal complaint with Child Protective Services, alleging your home is unsafe for Sarah. The room tilted. She did what? CPS has to investigate any formal complaint. They'll likely visit today. Sarah grabbed my arm. Dad, she can't do that. She can't take me away from you. Danny was already on his phone, calling someone. Lawyer contacts. Favors to call in. Rebecca continued. There's more. She filed a complaint with the State Electrical Licensing Board. Claims you performed unsafe electrical work. They're opening an investigation. My license. My career. Everything. How is she doing this so fast? Because she's done it before. This is her playbook. Overwhelm the target with legal action from multiple directions. Most people collapse under the pressure. I'm not most people. Good. Because it's going to get worse. We found something else. I heard papers shuffling on her end. Margaret has a shell company. Crystal Valley Holdings, LLC. Registered in Delaware. Anonymous ownership. But we traced the bank accounts. She's been buying properties in Pine Ridge Valley through this company. 6 homes in the past 4 years. Let me guess. Homes she drove people out of. Exactly. She manufactures violations, crushes homeowners financially, forces distressed sales, buys the properties through her LLC for 40 to 50 cents on the dollar. Your property, she's been planning to acquire it since you moved in. Why mine? Because you have the best lake access in the neighborhood. Direct waterfront. 2 acres. She's landlocked. Your property connects to hers. If she owns it, she controls the entire lakefront. Danny hung up his phone. Looked at me. Robertson is calling me back. He's the guy from that Facebook group. Pine Ridge Valley Refugees. Families Margaret destroyed. He's driving here. Should arrive by noon. Sarah was reading something on her phone. Her face went white. Dad, there's a Facebook group about our neighborhood. People Margaret kicked out. 12 families. How did you find that? I searched her name last night. Couldn't sleep. This group is private, but I sent a join request. The admin just approved me. She showed me her phone. Posts going back 3 years. Story after story. Family lost their home after Margaret manufactured code violations. Bankruptcy. Elderly couple forced out after she claimed their property was a safety hazard. They lost everything. Single mother targeted after questioning HOA finances. CPS called. Kids temporarily removed. She fled the state. Every story the same pattern. Violations. Escalation. Legal assault. Destruction. Sarah scrolled down. Dad, someone posted 15 minutes ago. In response to my join request. I read the post. New member is Jack Morrison's daughter. Margaret has started her attack on the Morrison family. Everyone who survived this, we need to help them. This is our chance to stop her. Responses were coming in fast. I'll testify. I have recordings. I kept all the documents. I'm calling the DA today. She destroyed my family, but I'll help destroy her. Danny looked at the phone. At me. Jack. These people, they've been waiting for someone to fight back. My phone rang. Unknown number. Mr. Morrison? This is Robertson. I'm 40 minutes away. I have a briefcase full of evidence against Margaret Thornhill. Everything she did to my family. Financial records. Recordings. Testimony from 6 other families. I've been building this case for 3 years, waiting for someone brave enough to use it. Why didn't you use it yourself? Because she destroyed my credibility. Criminal charges. Bankruptcy. Restraining order. If I came forward, no one would believe me. But you're actively in the fight. People see what she's doing to you in real time. You're the credible witness we needed. A car pulled into my driveway. Code enforcement. Again. Mr. Morrison, we need to conduct the mandatory inspection Margaret Thornhill requested. I looked at Danny. At Sarah. At the restraining order. At my phone with Robertson on the line. Mr. Morrison, the code enforcement officer called. We need access to your property. Now. Sarah grabbed my hand. Squeezed hard. Dad, don't let her win. I looked at my daughter. 16 years old. Fierce. Unafraid. I won't. Outside, another car pulled up. Sheriff's deputy. The same young woman from yesterday. She got out, walked toward my door. This time, she was carrying handcuffs. The deputy walked up my porch steps. Professional. Calm. Hand near her belt. Mr. Morrison, we need to conduct a search of your property. Code enforcement has reported potential hazardous materials. Hazardous materials? I'm an electrician. Everything is stored properly. Sir, we have a warrant. She handed me papers. Signed by Judge Kensington. Margaret's golf partner. This morning. Filed 2 hours ago. Danny stepped forward. Deputy, I'm his attorney. Can I see the probable cause? She showed him the warrant. Anonymous report of improperly stored industrial chemicals. Expired permits. Unpermitted electrical work creating fire hazards. The code enforcement officer was already walking toward my shed. 2 more officers pulled up. This was coordinated. Sarah grabbed my arm. Dad, you don't have any chemicals. I know, but my stomach was dropping. Because I understood what was happening. They searched for 40 minutes. My shed, my garage, my basement, every storage area. Then the code enforcement officer called out from the shed. Found them. 10 gallons of industrial solvent. Unmarked containers. Improperly stored. Expired permits taped to my workbench. Permits I'd never seen before, dated 3 years old. I walked into the shed. Looked at the chemicals. Those aren't mine. Sir, they're in your shed. Someone planted them. Look at the labels. They're not even filled out correctly. The hazmat codes are wrong. Danny was photographing everything. The containers. The permits. The placement. These permits are forgeries, he said. The county seal is wrong. The signature doesn't match current code enforcement officials. The deputy examined them. Frowned. Sir, regardless, we have to file a report. This is a code violation. This is evidence of a crime. Someone broke into my property and planted these. The code enforcement officer was writing on his clipboard. Mr. Morrison, I'm issuing an emergency condemnation notice. This property is deemed unsafe for occupancy by minors. You have 24 hours to remove any children from the premises. Sarah's voice was shaking. You can't do that. Ma'am, it's for your safety. My dad is being framed. Robert Chin's truck pulled into the driveway. He jumped out, saw the officers, the chemicals, understood immediately. Don't say anything else, he called to me. They're recording everything. The deputy looked at him. Sir, who are you? Robert Chun. I'm a witness to HOA President Margaret Thornhill's pattern of criminal activity. Those chemicals were planted. I've seen her do this before. He pulled out his phone. Showed the deputy a video. This is from 3 years ago. My property. Same thing. Chemicals I'd never purchased appeared in my garage. Code enforcement condemned my home. I lost everything. But I kept the security footage. Watch. The video showed a figure in dark clothes. Night vision camera. Breaking into Robert's garage. Placing containers. Leaving. I couldn't prove it was Margaret. She was careful. But the pattern is identical. The deputy watched the video. Her expression changed. Sir, this is serious. If you have evidence of false reporting, I have evidence of a criminal conspiracy spanning 3 years. 12 families. Millions in fraud. And your department has been used as her weapon. Robert opened his briefcase. Pulled out document folders. Recordings. Testimony. Everything is here. Copies are already with the district attorney's office. Your search today is being used to establish probable cause for property seizure. It's her playbook. Page 1. The deputy's radio crackled. Unit 4, what's your status? She hesitated. Looked at the chemicals. At the fake permits. At Robert's evidence. Stand by. She walked away, talking into her radio. Low voice. The code enforcement officer issued the condemnation notice anyway. Handed it to me. 24 hours. No minors on property. Non-negotiable. Sarah was crying now. Trying not to, but tears were streaming down her face. Dad, I'm not leaving you. You have to. Just for now. No. She wins if I leave. Robert stepped close. Whispered, the hearing is tomorrow. Restraining order. If you show up, she'll have you arrested. But if someone else presents the evidence, I've been preparing for 3 years. Let me fight this battle. You protect your daughter. The deputy came back. Her face was hard to read. Mr. Morrison, I'm required to file this report. But I'm also noting significant irregularities. The DA's office is being notified. Margaret's Lexus drove past slowly. She didn't stop, didn't look over. But I knew she was watching, counting the seconds until I broke. My phone buzzed. Text from my ex-wife. Jack, CPS called me. They're opening an investigation. What the hell is happening? Another text. This one from Margaret's lawyer. Mr. Morrison, you now face criminal charges for hazardous materials violations. My client is willing to drop all complaints if you surrender your property deed within 48 hours. There it was. Her endgame. My property. For nothing. Sarah read the text over my shoulder. Dad, don't give her anything. I looked at my daughter. At Robert. At Danny. At the life Margaret was systematically destroying. I won't. But I didn't know how much more I could take. 9 p.m. District Attorney's Office downtown. Rebecca Walsh spread documents across the conference table. Bank records. Property transfers. Shell company filings. We've been investigating Margaret Thornhill for 8 months. Financial Crimes Unit. She's our primary target. Danny and Robert sat beside me. Sarah was with Jennifer. Safe. Margaret has stolen over $340,000 from HOA funds. She's bought 6 properties through fraudulent foreclosures. Yours is next. Why me? Direct lake access. 2 acres connecting to her property. She's been planning this since you moved in. Rebecca pulled out more documents. Tomorrow's emergency meeting. She's selling community assets to her shell company. Parks. Lake access. Common areas. For nothing. Final cash grab before she runs. Runs where? We don't know. But she knows we're closing in. This is her exit strategy. She slid a small recording device across the table. Professional equipment. Nearly invisible. Tomorrow, we're this. Confront her at the meeting. Make her defend herself publicly. Arrogant people confess when challenged in front of crowds. The restraining order. I can't attend. Judge Kensington recused himself this afternoon. Conflict of interest. New judge is reviewing the order tomorrow morning. It'll be dismissed by noon. You're sure? We made calls. You'll be cleared. My phone buzzed. Text from Margaret. Mr. Morrison, meet me 4 p.m. tomorrow. Community Center. Come alone. Bring your checkbook. $23,500 owed. Last chance to resolve this peacefully. I showed Rebecca. Her smile was sharp. Perfect. She's meeting you before the public meeting. She'll try to intimidate you. Break you. That's our opportunity. What if she doesn't confess? Then she completes the asset sale at 7 p.m., transfers the money, and disappears. We lose her. Robert opened his briefcase. Documents from 12 families she'd destroyed. Jack, I've been building this case for 3 years. Everything is here. Patterns. Evidence. Testimony. But we need her on record admitting what she's done. Danny was reading through the files. His face was grim. This is massive. Federal wire fraud. IRS violations. Criminal conspiracy. When you move, it'll be huge. Rebecca nodded. Which is why we need ironclad evidence. A recorded confession ties everything together. Makes it impossible for her lawyers to claim ignorance or mistake. What's my safety? Agents will be positioned outside the community center. You'll wear a panic button. Code word is lakefront. You say that, we come in within 30 seconds. I looked at the recording device. At the documents. At the evidence of Margaret's destruction. I'll do it. Good. Meeting is at 4 p.m. Get there early. Set up in the main room. We need good audio quality. We left at 11 p.m. Downtown was empty. Cold. Mountains invisible in darkness. Danny drove me home. Neither of us spoke. Inside my cabin, I paced. Watched the lake through windows. Tried to sleep. Couldn't. 2 a.m. Headlights swept across my property. Slow. Deliberate. Margaret's surveillance continuing. My phone lit up. Sarah. Dad, don't give up. We're going to win this. Robert. I'm at the hotel downtown. Call anytime. Tomorrow we end her reign. Rebecca, restraining order officially dismissed. Judge ruled insufficient evidence. You're cleared for tomorrow. See you at 4 p.m. I stared at that last message. Tomorrow, 4 p.m., Community Center. Margaret thought she was meeting a desperate man ready to surrender. She thought she'd already won. She had no idea what was waiting for her. 4 p.m., Community Center. Storm clouds gathering over the mountains. Wind picking up off the lake. I arrived early. Wore the wire. Tested it twice. Rebecca's team was positioned in unmarked vehicles outside. The main room overlooked the valley. 70 chairs set up for tonight's meeting. Empty now? Margaret walked in at 4:03. Alone. Black pantsuit. Pearl necklace. Leather briefcase. She saw me and smiled. Mr. Morrison. Punctual. I appreciate that. She set her briefcase on the table. Pulled out documents. Let's make this simple. You sign over your property deed. I drop all complaints. Code enforcement, CPS, electrical board. Everything goes away. No. Her smile tightened. No. I'm not signing anything. She sat down. Crossed her legs. Completely calm. Then you lose everything. Your home. Your daughter. Your career. I have the power to make that happen. You have the power because you've been stealing HOA funds for 6 years. Silence. Her face didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. That's a serious accusation. $340,000. Fake invoices. Shell companies. Your brother-in-law's businesses. I have the documents. I don't know what you think you found, but I found them in trash can 83. The one you accidentally left financial records in when you dumped 147 cans on my lawn. Her jaw clenched. First crack in her composure. Those documents prove nothing. They prove you've been embezzling. Fraud. Criminal conspiracy. The district attorney agrees. She stood up fast. Chair scraping. You contacted the DA? They've been investigating you for 8 months. I just gave them what they needed. Her face went white. Then red. You stupid man. Do you have any idea who you're dealing with? I've lived here 23 years. I know every official, every judge, every lawyer in this county. You knew Judge Kensington. He recused himself yesterday. That stopped her. What? Conflict of interest. The restraining order is dismissed. I can attend tonight's meeting. She grabbed her briefcase. Started packing documents. This conversation is over. Not yet. Tell me why. Why destroy 12 families? Why target me? She spun around. Fury in her eyes now. Because this is my community. I built Pine Ridge Valley. My husband and I created something beautiful here. And then people like you show up, divorced, unstable, questioning everything. And you think you deserve what we built. So you steal from them? I earned that money. Do you know how much time I spend managing this neighborhood? How many hours dealing with complaints, organizing events, maintaining standards? That doesn't give you the right. I have every right. You people are too stupid to manage your own community funds. Someone has to take charge. Someone has to make decisions. She was yelling now, voice echoing in the empty room. And your property, your lakefront property that you don't even deserve. I've wanted that land for 8 years. I deserve it. I've lived here. I've worked here. Not you. So you decided to steal it. I decided to acquire it through legal means. You violated HOA rules. That's your fault, not mine. 6 inches over the property line for 9 hours. The rule is the rule. She was pacing now, composure completely shattered. You should have just sold when I gave you the chance. Now you're going to lose everything anyway. CPS will take your daughter. The electrical board will revoke your license. Code enforcement will condemn your property. And I'll buy it at auction for pennies. Not this time. She laughed. Sharp. Bitter. You can't stop me. Nobody can. I've done this 6 times. The sheriff helps me. The judge helps me. The whole system. The door opened. Rebecca Walsh walked in. FBI agents behind her. Margaret froze. Margaret Thornhill, you're under arrest for wire fraud, embezzlement, criminal conspiracy, and violation of federal HOA regulations. Agents moved forward. Handcuffs out. Margaret's face went through shock, rage, disbelief. You recorded me. Every word. I said. You can't. This is entrapment. This is justice. She screamed as they cuffed her. Threats. Curses. Promises of lawsuits. I'll destroy you. I'll appeal. My lawyers will. Rebecca read her rights. The agents let her out. Through the windows, I could see residents gathering. News of the arrest spreading fast. Outside, storm clouds broke. rain hammering the windows, lightning over the mountains. Margaret was still screaming as they pushed her into the patrol car, and I stood in that empty room, watching her leave, knowing it was finally over. Morning came clean and bright. Storm had passed during the night, mountains gleaming with fresh snow on the peaks. Crystal Lake calm as glass. I stood on my porch at dawn, coffee warm in my hands. No trash cans. Neighbors had removed every single one during the night. Left apology gifts on my doorstep. Flowers, cards, homemade bread. The valley had never looked more beautiful. My phone started ringing at 6 a.m. First call, Rebecca Walsh. Margaret is being held without bail. Federal detention. She's facing 47 felony counts. Wire fraud, embezzlement, criminal conspiracy, IRS violations. She's looking at minimum 8 years, likely 12 to 15. What about the money? Full restitution ordered. $340,000 plus damages. Her properties are being seized and sold. The 6 homes she fraudulently acquired through her shell company. Those sales are being reversed. Original owners get their properties back. I had to sit down. Robert gets his house. Within 60 days. We're fast-tracking everything. Thank you. You did this, Mr. Morrison. You stood up when everyone else was too afraid. Danny arrived an hour later with breakfast sandwiches and a stack of legal documents. Every complaint Margaret filed has been dropped. Code enforcement cleared you. CPS closed their investigation. The Electrical Licensing Board dismissed her complaint with prejudice. You're completely clear. Sarah came out of the guest room. She'd stayed last night. First time sleeping here since the condemnation notice. Dad, does this mean we can really keep the cabin? We can keep it, sweetheart. She hugged me so hard I could barely breathe. I'm really proud of you. By noon, neighbors I'd never spoken to were stopping by, apologizing, sharing their own stories of Margaret's reign of terror. Mrs. Patterson stood on my porch, wringing her hands. We were all so terrified of her. She destroyed the Henderson family, the Millers, the Chens. Anyone who questioned her ended up losing everything. So we just stayed quiet and hoped she wouldn't notice us. I understand. No, you don't. We were cowards. You were the brave one. The young couple who'd supported Margaret at the first meeting came by crying. Brought homemade apple pie. We didn't know. We were new to the neighborhood. She seemed so professional, so official. We're so sorry. It's okay. You didn't know. Robert Chin arrived at 2 p.m. His entire face looked different. Lighter. Like a physical weight had been lifted. The DA confirmed it officially. My property sale is being reversed. I get my house back. After 3 years. Robert, that's incredible. His voice cracked. 3 years of bankruptcy. My marriage fell apart. I lost everything. And now there's actually justice. We stood together on my deck, looking out at the lake. Mountains standing eternal against brilliant blue sky. What will you do now? I asked. Rebuild my life. Move back to Pine Ridge Valley. Start over properly this time. He turned to me. What about you? Same. This is home now. I'm not leaving. My ex-wife Jennifer called at 4 p.m. Her voice was softer than I'd heard in 2 years. Jack, I owe you an apology. Margaret showed me doctored photos, fake documents. She made you sound dangerous and unstable. I should have known better. I should have trusted you. It's okay, Jennifer. It's not okay. But Sarah told me everything you did. How you fought back. She wants to spend a lot more time at the cabin with you. I think that's good for her. After she hung up, Sarah was grinning. Mom actually admitted she was wrong. That's literally historic. That evening, there was a new HOA meeting. Legitimate. Democratic. Open to everyone. Robert was elected president unanimously. I agreed to serve as treasurer. We established transparent finances, reasonable rules, actual community focus. Margaret's lawyer visited her in jail. Mentioned appeal strategies. Rebecca texted me. Her lawyer is grasping at straws. The recording is ironclad. She's going to prison. A real estate developer called my phone. Offered to buy my property. Premium price. More than market value. I declined without hesitation. This was home. That evening, Sarah and I grilled burgers on the deck. Danny came over. Robert joined us. We watched the sunset paint the lake gold and orange. Purple mountains beyond. Dad, Sarah said quietly. Was all of this worth it? I looked at my daughter. At my home. At my community. At the friends who'd stood beside me when everything was falling apart. Every single second. 6 months later. Autumn in Pine Ridge Valley. Mountains blazing orange and gold. Crystal Lake reflecting those fire colors back to the sky. Life had found its rhythm again. The new HOA was everything the old one wasn't. Democratic, transparent, actually focused on community instead of control. Robert served as president with quiet competence. I handled finances with complete transparency. Every resident could access the budget online. Every major decision required community vote. Property values increased 12% in 6 months. Not because of enforcement and fear, but because people actually wanted to live here again. Margaret's trial had been swift and decisive. The recording sealed her fate. 47 felony convictions. 15 years in federal prison. No possibility of parole for at least 10 years. The other board members who'd enabled her crimes got reduced sentences in exchange for testimony. 3 years probation. Community service. Permanent ban from any HOA leadership. I'd attended the sentencing hearing. Sat in the back row of the courtroom. Margaret looked diminished now. Older. Smaller. Broken. The judge had been harsh in his ruling. You systematically exploited trust, destroyed families, and corrupted the very concept of community. Your greed and cruelty have earned you every single day of this sentence. Margaret showed no remorse. Even then, even facing 15 years behind bars. Her last look at me had been pure hatred. I felt nothing but pity. My property had transformed completely. With settlement money from the HOA lawsuit, $45,000 for damages and legal fees, I'd finally built that deck I'd always wanted. Cedar wood, built-in benches, views of the lake and mountains. Sarah had helped design every detail. Neighbors volunteered labor. Danny handled all the permits. Robert provided construction advice. The community came together properly for the first time in over a decade. Sarah was absolutely thriving now. Her grades improved dramatically. Her confidence grew. She'd written her college application essay about standing up to injustice, about watching her father fight back when everyone else said to quit. She'd been accepted early admission to University of Washington. Environmental science program. Close enough to visit the cabin on weekends. My relationship with Jennifer had improved significantly. Not romantic, that was permanently finished, but respectful. Co-parenting that actually functioned. She'd apologized several times. Margaret was a master manipulator, but I should have known you better than to believe her. Water under the bridge. Robert had rebuilt his life too. Moved back into his restored home. Remarried. Found genuine peace. You gave me my life back, he'd told me over coffee last week. We gave each other our lives back. The other families Margaret had destroyed were slowly recovering. Not everyone could return to Pine Ridge Valley. Some wounds were simply too deep. But knowing there was actual justice helped their healing. Danny's law firm had taken on 3 more HOA fraud cases in neighboring communities, using our case as a template, fighting back against other corrupt boards across the county. You started something much bigger than you realize, he told me. November brought unexpected news. Margaret's adult son had reached out, requested a meeting. I'd agreed. Met him at a downtown coffee shop. He was mid-30s, visibly nervous, deeply ashamed. I'm testifying against my mother at her appeals hearing next month. I wanted you to know. She's been manipulative and cruel my entire life. What she did to you, to those families, I cannot and will not defend it. That must be incredibly difficult. It's necessary. She needs to face full consequences. And she needs to know that even her own family won't protect her lies anymore. He brought a folder containing more evidence. Margaret's personal financial records, showing years of similar schemes in other states before Pine Ridge Valley. She won't win her appeal. Not with this documentation. After he left, I sat in my truck in the parking lot, thinking about Margaret, about what drives someone to cause so much deliberate harm to innocent people. I still don't have a complete answer. That evening, I stood on my deck watching the sunset paint everything gold. Sarah beside me, Danny and Robert manning the grill, Mrs. Patterson bringing her famous potato salad. The young couple who'd tearfully apologized months ago bringing their toddler to play in the yard. Real community, built on trust and mutual respect instead of fear and control. My phone buzzed. Text from Rebecca Walsh. Margaret's appeal was formally denied this morning. Sentence stands in full. Thought you'd want to know. I showed the message to Sarah. Good, she said firmly. Then, more quietly. Dad, what if she somehow gets out early? Like in 8 or 10 years. Then she gets out. But she won't have power anymore. She won't have money or influence. She won't have this community to terrorize. Whatever she does after prison, that becomes her burden to carry, not ours. Sarah nodded slowly, wise beyond her 16 years. Robert raised his beer bottle toward me. To Jack Morrison, for having the courage that all of us should have had years ago. Everyone raised their glasses and bottles. I looked at these good people. This beautiful place. This life I'd fought so desperately hard to keep and protect. To all of us, I said, for finally remembering that bullies only win when good people choose to stay silent. We all drank as the sun set magnificently over Crystal Lake. And I knew, with absolute certainty, that we were finally truly home. 1-year anniversary. November morning. Cold and clear. I stood on my deck at sunrise. Coffee steaming. Lake like glass. Mountains sharp against pink sky. Sarah beside me. Home from college for Thanksgiving. You ever think about that day? She asked. Every morning. Regret any of it? I looked at her. Not 1 second. Phone rang. Rebecca Walsh. Margaret's final appeal denied this morning. 15 years. Permanent. After hanging up, I told Sarah. She was quiet. I hope she finds peace. For her own sake. My daughter had more grace than me. The community had transformed. Fear gone. Replaced by trust. Mutual support. Real community. Robert's HOA presidency was everything Margaret's wasn't. Transparent. Democratic. Focused on improving lives, not controlling them. 3 families moved in this year. Young couples. Retirees. Drawn by our community's reputation. Property values kept climbing. From desirability, not enforcement. Danny had successfully prosecuted 5 more HOA fraud cases. Corrupt presidents in 3 counties. Millions recovered. Families restored. You started a movement, he'd said. Margaret's other victims had mostly recovered. Robert, thriving. Marriage strong. Life rebuilt. The families who'd lost homes were healing. Some moved to other states. But justice helped close those wounds. Mrs. Patterson stopped by weekly with baked goods. I'm still ashamed we didn't stand up sooner. Fear is powerful. You're standing up now. That matters. The young couple who'd supported Margaret initially had become good neighbors. Their toddler played in my yard weekends. Sarah babysat. Redemption was possible. Text from Margaret's son. Final appeal denied. Mother serves full sentence. Thank you for exposing her. You saved lives. I showed Sarah. See? Even her family knows you did right. That evening, anniversary dinner. Robert and his wife. Danny. Jennifer and her boyfriend. Mrs. Patterson. The young couple and their toddler. Robert made a toast. 1 year ago, Jack stood surrounded by 147 trash cans. Faced with a choice, surrender or fight. He fought. Not just for himself. For all of us. For every family Margaret destroyed. Everyone raised glasses. Jack taught us bullies only win when good people stay silent. That justice takes courage. That one person standing up changes everything. He looked at me. Thank you for being that person. We drank as sun set over the lake. Later, Sarah and I sat on the deck. Comfortable silence. Dad, would you do it again? Knowing how hard it'd be, I thought about the trash cans. The planted evidence. The legal threats. The fear of losing everything, including her. Then I thought about the community we'd built. The families restored. The justice achieved. Every single time. She smiled. Good answer. We watched darkness deepen. Mountains fading to silhouettes. Lake becoming black glass with reflected stars. This was home. Peace. Justice. Not because Margaret was punished, though that mattered. Because we'd proven standing up works. Fighting back succeeds. One person with courage can inspire a community to reclaim itself. Margaret had 15 years to think about that. We had the rest of our lives to enjoy what she'd tried to take. I raised my mug to the mountains. To the lake. To the future. To standing your ground. Sarah raised hers too. To standing your ground. We drank as stars came out over Pine Ridge Valley. We'd won. Not just the battle. The war. If this story moved you, if you've ever faced a bully or stood up when quitting seemed easier, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from, and share your own story of standing your ground. Let's build a community of people who refuse to stay silent. Because that's how we win. Together, every single time. Your story matters. Share it below.